Highlands hills, from valleys wide to Ulster's will, the drums are sounding, the call is near, for every patriot to gather here. Four nations, one kingdom, together we rise, beneath one flag under British skies. We will not bend or compromise. Four nations united before your eyes, our voices thunder, our banners fly. Four nations, one kingdom till we die. Four nations,
They tried to break what we became, to turn our love to doubt and shame. We've led as one through many wars, defending home, our sacred shores, through crown and cross, through grief and pride. All four nations side by side.
four nations, one kingdom, together we rise, beneath one flag under British skies. We will not bend or compromise. Four nations united before your eyes, our voices thunder, our banners fly. Four nations, one kingdom till we die. England stand proud, Scotland stand tall, Wales breathe fire, Ulster give all. This is our land, our truth, our sound. Together we stand, together we belong. Four nations, a kingdom, forever we'll stand, bound by honor, heart and hound. Let them curse, let them conspire, for we are one through blood and fire. We are the lion, the dragon, the hand, the unicorn, the heartbeat of Britain united reborn. Stand together.
Welcome back, everyone. That is what I like to see. Almost 1,000 people watching before I even say a word. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for what could be a long one tonight, and you guys are going to be taking part this evening. We have a number of things to get through. I saw in the chat there a few people under the impression that Ben was going to be here tonight. Sorry to disappoint you guys if I've misled anyone in the headline there this evening. We're going to be talking about Ben, but Ben is not appearing with me tonight. Maybe sometime in the near future, but we will be discussing that amongst other things. Of course, we're going to be talking about uniting the right. We're going to be talking about Ben Habib's announcement. We're going to be talking about Rupert Lowe's reaction to that announcement. We're going to be talking about Nigel Farage's performance over the last couple of 3 days. And of course, we're going to be talking about young Henry Novak. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I will be popping a link in the chat later in the show, so you guys can let me know what you think about all of the things that I've just mentioned there. Now, before we get into inviting you guys onto the show, I just want to run through a couple of bits. Yesterday in the House, again, Keir Starmer and his Labour government once again failed to read the room. He fails to understand the grief, the anger, and the frustrations of a nation. Or Did he misunderstand it, or does he know exactly what he's doing? I actually think he possibly knows exactly what he's doing. Just like after Southport. Once again, Starmer attacked the response to a tragedy and not the tragedy or the causes itself. Again, he speaks about division. But the point he misses is this. It's the left, their supporters, their troublesome commentators who have been busy at it again all day today on the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, LBC. Shame on you, LBC. Your performance today, Sheila Fogarty, James O'Brien, vile individuals, vile comments. Even the police themselves have been causing the division that Keir Starmer has spoken about. No one else, certainly none of us. Most people in this country, I believe, are sensible enough to know and to understand that they're now quite blatant and clearly obvious institutional racism against the indigenous British people that we are experiencing today mostly comes from other indigenous white Brits. They are the ones causing this division, and we mustn't allow that to happen. I'm going to give you an absolutely mind-numbing fact here before we kick off tonight. A mind-numbing fact. Southport, Rotherham, Telford, all of the grooming gang areas, the Manchester Arena bombings, and more potentially could have all been avoided sorry guys, swallowed me tea down the wrong hole. Where was I? Yeah, I mean, all of those things potentially could have been avoided if it wasn't for the fear of racism that is so embedded into our society. Axel Rudibakana's teacher was told to shut up and be quiet, and that she was potentially racially profiling a young black boy after she warned that Rudibakana was a ticking time bomb ready to go off. Those three little angels are gone, can never be brought back. Woke and DEI assisted in the death of those three young children. If we go back to Manchester Arena, the bombing, he was spotted and suspected by a security guard who decided not to report him for fear of being accused of being a racist. Woke and DEI assisted in the deaths of those that died that terrible night and that Ariana Grande concert. Rotherham, Telford, and many other towns right across the country offered nothing but a deaf ear to victims and to their parents for decades in the name of community cohesion. Woke and DEI played a major role in these victims' horror stories, every single one of them. All of these events could have possibly been avoided, but woke and the left facilitate them happening. Woke and the left does indeed kill. And it's an absolute fact that the British people live in fear of the word racism. Whenever you go out, right, you see it. You see people looking over their shoulder, talking behind their hands. They're scared. Our kids are being brainwashed at school into believing that they are bad, that their history is bad, and that everyone else's is good, and that they're always to blame. White privilege, right? Well, where I was brought up and where I used to live before I moved to Spain, I didn't see a lot of white privilege going on. And without a doubt, there is a feeling of a burning injustice that is engulfing the whole United Kingdom like never before. Never have I seen a country so divided, so angry, so frustrated. Now, it's my own personal belief, having been brought up amongst them, that us white indigenous British people are the fairest, the kindest, the best, the most generous, the most tolerant people on earth. So for those people to rise and become so upset like they are doing right now proves that something is very, very wrong. I can't imagine any other nation on earth putting up with what we've put up with over the last 20 years or at least. And I also believe that for us, this isn't about our friends and neighbours whose skin colour might be a bit different to ours. In general, they are not the ones who have let us down and who have turned their treacherous backs on us. Although, of course, there are some clearly taking advantage of their skin colour wherever and whenever they can. That's what people do. It's human nature, right? The people who have set us up mostly look like me. Traitors to their own people, traitors to their country, and traitors to genuine unity and community cohesion. Now, as far as I'm aware, the indigenous British people have never asked for special treatment or any legal exemptions, and we certainly never given any. We're just not like that, right? We all have a deep sense of fair play and justice for all. That's what makes us the great people that we are, and why so many people from around the world choose and want to live among us. And today I appeal to people from all backgrounds to support us, this movement, and most importantly, to support Henry Novak, his family, and what is going to be a fight now for genuine justice for Henry. Everyone should be treated equally, fairly, responsibly, with dignity and without any prejudice. Two-tier policing absolutely exists, and we know that now to be an absolute undisputable fact because that evidence is supplied on Hampshire Police's very own website. Justice for Henry is a long way from being delivered, and I believe that it is our job to fight for that. I know that Henry's family have rightly appealed for calm. They have rightly said that they don't want to see his death used as a political football. I understand that. I respect that. And they have rightly said that they don't want it to cause any further division. Those are my thoughts as well. As I say time and time again on this channel, as I said before Southampton the other day, if you're going, please make sure you behave. Please remain respectful. Please do the right thing. But unfortunately, what the media and the government don't understand is that some people, not everyone has a YouTube channel that they can vent their anger on. Not everyone has a Facebook page that they can use to vent their anger on. And if they do, they're now in fear of getting a knock on the door. That anger out there, well, you can smell it, you can touch it, you can feel it. And the government has got to understand, the authorities have got to understand, without a question or any shadow of a doubt, and I spend all day, every day, meeting working class Brits out here in Benidorm who feel lost. They feel that all help has gone. They feel deserted. They feel that they haven't got anyone. They've got nowhere else to go. England is their home, and they feel they're being driven out, they're being disrespected. They feel that the authorities no longer care about them. They feel that the authorities no longer care about their kids. As Sam's saying, the tension is palpable. You can touch it. My wife is currently back home in the UK. I spoke to her this afternoon. I said, what's it like? She said, worse than I can remember, worse than I remember. What happens when people who are less privileged when it comes to education, when it comes to their ability to communicate, what happens when these people feel that they can no longer comply their way out of this shit? And the irony and the contrast of the reaction of some of our politicians and certainly the media. No doubt a lot of you guys will have been watching this all day, as I have. I'm not gonna play loads and loads of other people's videos tonight. There's no need. I'm sure you've all seen the important videos today, including a video of about 8 police officers basically kicking the shit out of a protester at Southampton the other night. I wonder how certain communities would have reacted to that if it had been one of theirs that had been treated so badly as Henry was. I frankly, I cannot get over. I've got to be honest with you. That video that I'm not going to play tonight, by the way, that video of Henry has honestly haunted me. I kid you not, it has honestly haunted me. I kept waking up last night, and the first thing that I kept thinking about was that video. I just can't get it out of my head. And I said in the post that the last time I felt like this, well, the times that I can remember when I felt like this was the Ariana Grande concert, Southport, going back to Soham. It is indeed. It's worse than any horror film that I've ever seen. Not because Henry's life could have potentially been saved, because I think we have probably got to accept that was unlikely. It's just the way he was treated. And I personally do not trust the IOPC to do any type of job that is anywhere near satisfactory. This needs investigating, in my opinion, independently, completely independently, away from the police. I don't believe the IOPC is independent from the police. No way, not at all. Heads have got to roll and charges need to be brought. Now, I'm going to be throwing open the show in a while. We can talk about Henry, if that's what you want to do. If you want to get something off your chest, you can do that. If you want to talk about Advance, pretty much not closing the doors exactly, but standing down, which is pretty much the same thing, right? I want to talk about Nigel Farage and his war with the media again over the last 24, 48 hours, certainly after Southampton, where the media are now trying to blame Farage for what went on. I have to say that I think personally, like him or loathe him, I think Farage has done a very good job over the last 24 hours. He stood his ground. He's spoken about a cold rage. And I think that is how we all feel. People trying to say today on the media, the usual suspects, the usual villains, the usual mainstream media, grot bags have all been saying, oh, you can't say that, you know, cold rage, that's calling for riots. What an absolute load of old bollocks, if you don't mind me saying. Who wouldn't feel a cold rage after watching that video? That's a natural human instinct. A natural human instinct. And then, of course, I want to talk about the forthcoming by-election in Makerfield, which now for me is even more important than ever. So the link is now in the chat. What I'll do is I'll throw it in a few times because I know the chat goes by a little bit on the fast side. I will prioritise new guests. Hope the regulars don't mind, but it's always good to have some new guests on the show. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me, you can do whatever you like. I want to hear from reform voters. I want to hear from restore supporters. Let's hear your voices this evening. Vicky, good evening. You're first up. Hey, Vicky, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hey, Vicky, how you doing?
I can't hear you. Hang on.
Okay, well, let Vicky get herself sorted out. Julie, we'll bring you up. Julie, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yes, I'm better, Julie. Back on the, not quite on top form, but almost.
We were worried about you, old boy. Right. First of all, I'd like to thank Ben. I thought that there was no chance of politically sorting this out. But with the help of you and Nick and Ben, as if you could thank Ben personally, put their egos aside, and now we have a chance.
Yeah.
I think that, to be quite honest, we're already started to be in a little bit of civil unrest in this country. I literally walk around with a first aid kit and a tourniquet when I go out in case I need to help somebody.
Wow.
Because that's how I feel, and it's in my nature to help when I can. I feel that maybe there is hope and we're not going to run out of time. Obviously, you know, let's hope we don't run out of time, that nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that Rupert has a good idea. I think we should bring the death penalty back in some cases. And I hope by now, Paul, from like behind the scenes and on here, you know I've got a good heart and
Yeah.
I'm a real friend.
Absolutely.
But I would love, I hope I live long enough to see the likes of Starmer and Blair hanging for what they've done, along with some others. As for Henry, it states clearly in our law, without fear nor favour. So this DEI is actually illegal because they are clearly saying we need to treat people differently. Now, as far as I'm concerned, everybody is responsible for their own actions. That those police officers put themselves at risk because they should have arrested everybody, because they can de-arrest. They actually put themselves in danger as well, letting 4 people walk around. They had no idea of what was going on. Very stupid people.
I mean, it was a bad scene from the moment, you know, the video played. As I said, I'm not going to play it again, Julie. I mean, for me, I mean, look, I'm not a police officer, to be fair. I've not had any police training, and I do realise that, you know, not having that experience, you know, we all know that once you get in a job, you see things differently to when you're not in it. But
Yeah.
it was very evident to me, and I think to most people watching that horror show the other night, was that there was a need for urgent medical attention. That was quite apparent to me, and quite apparent to anyone, you know, that has got any compassion or any sense. I just don't know what was going through that police officer's mind when he arrived there. I honestly don't. I'd love to hear his explanation as to why he delayed, or why they delayed calling an an ambulance. And by the way, I'm hearing that the ambulance took almost an hour to get there.
The first thing I was trained in first aid is to call for help, call
Yeah,
an ambulance, because
yeah,
without that, you're screwed.
yeah.
Right? Obviously, you need to do what you've got to do. But I was always taught you show compassion. Even if the person is unconscious, you don't know how unconscious they are. Even if you know that there is no hope, you still carry on. You keep talking to that person and
Of
you show
course,
compassion.
absolutely. I mean, Julie, look, when the police shoot someone, the first thing they do once they've shot him is rush to them to try and save their lives.
There
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just, and this DEI, I'm telling you, from what I know by some of the police that I've spoken to, because I try to get facts straight. I don't always get things right, but I think if you go into an argument having some idea of what you're talking about,
yeah.
then you've got a good chance of walking away victorious or a draw sort of thing. But they said that literally a police officer has the right to not follow an order if they know that order is unlawful. DEI is unlawful.
I don't
In
think,
our law, it
Julie,
clearly
I'm sorry,
states.
I don't think the average police officer that I see walking around these days has got the lived experience to know what's right and wrong half the time. They're robots. When
They
I look at
shouldn't
the
be police officers then,
no,
should they?
no, they shouldn't. When I look at the state of some of them, the age of some of them, when I look at some of the police women who go to work with, they've got lip filler, they've got facial piercings, they've got long nails, they've got their makeup on, they look like they're going on an OnlyFans outing, let alone a. Now all that is fine. If that's what young women want to do, absolutely no problem with it whatsoever.
Not when you put a uniform
But
on.
not when you
Not
put a uniform
when
on.
you're in a position of power or you're in a position of teaching. No, that the uniform is to make you neutral,
How
not
can
to
you
make you
possibly,
different.
exactly, how can you possibly administer first aid when you've got 2-inch false nails on for a start?
Ridiculous.
Um, it's absolutely crazy. Julie, thank you for coming on as always.
Can I
Lovely to
say
speak.
one more thing, Paul?
Yes, of
I'm a
course you
little
can.
bit
Yeah.
cross with you. You know
Go
how
on,
much
be
I
cross
love
with
you,
me.
but I'm a
Go
little
on,
bit
what have
cross.
I done?
Please, can you read the poem by Kipling, and it's called "The Wrath of the Anglo-Saxon"? Because I think even if Burnham gets in, the British people have got some intelligence, and what they are seeing now, I think the Uni Party are over. Remember when we were young and there was arguments and that, and people always, or if there's an accident, always watch the quiet ones.
Yeah,
The quiet ones are usually the ones that are gonna clout you, or the ones that are seriously unwell.
yeah.
And I think that the British people are very quiet, but when they go, they go. So I just want
Yeah.
a little bit more faith. I have total faith in my own people. There's good and bad in all. So don't get me wrong. When I say my own people, I don't care what skin colour you are. If you're born in this country, if you love our flag, but I have total faith in these people, and I think that with the help of people like Ben and politicians getting together and the people, we will win this. I have never had any doubt. I just think that it might get a bit ugly,
Well, we
unfortunately.
will
It
see.
already has.
Yeah, we'll see, Julie. Thank you so much for coming on. As always, I really appreciate it. You have a lovely evening. Let's try and get Vicky back. Vicky, are you there? Vicky? Still no luck with Vicky. I'll give her one more try later on. Let's have a look. Andrew, can you hear me, Andrew?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
How you doing, Andrew? I can hear you very well. What's on your mind, mate?
Where do I start, Paul? Honestly, I'm past the point now. I've enough's enough. I mean, poor Henry. You know, I can't get it out of my head. those
Yeah.
words, I cannot breathe, 9 times. I've been stabbed, and still he was neglected by the system.
Yeah.
And you know what? I feel that neglect, being a white person myself. I went for a job with Birmingham City Council. I was told I was the wrong colour. Point blank, I was told I was the wrong colour. You try and appeal it, no one wants to listen.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
and
insanity, go on.
honestly, I'm just so frustrated with it all. And I just don't know what to do because I'm so hecked up and frustrated and angry. I'm upset the fact that an innocent's life has been taken.
Yeah.
You can see
Look,
it's in cuffs, and honestly, it's just what? Where did it all go wrong?
mate, where did it all go wrong? I mean, Tony Blair was the start, wasn't it, for me? I mean,
Yeah,
everything started to change when Tony Blair got into power. But it was a slow process, but like a very bad disease that has slowly but surely crept up on us. I think the thing that got me with Henry the other night was you could hear in his voice, you could hear the trouble that he was having speaking, breathing. It was
you could feel the pain in his
yeah,
voice.
you could feel the pain, and it was hard as a dad and a granddad. It was heartbreaking
Yeah.
to listen to, but for me, the obscenity of it is what has made me feel as sick as I feel. It was obscene. The lack of care was obscene. That's the only word that I can. Inhuman is, you would treat a murderer, a mass murderer, with more bloody compassion than just to treat him the way in which they treated him, in my humble opinion. And I don't care. I don't care what colour he was, whether he was black, white, or what religion he was. You don't treat people like that, and it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
Mm.
Andrew, yeah, go on, mate.
Honestly, that could have been my son. That could
It
have
could have
been
been
my
anyone.
daughter.
Yeah, could have been anyone.
You
Could
know,
have been anyone.
and the sad thing about it is there's no justice for him. Why aren't people bowing their heads? Why aren't people taking the knee? Especially
Well,
people in government. If they don't want to take the knee, at least bow out of respect.
What you're finding at the moment, Andrew, is what we've got the mainstream media going into overdrive, trying to deflect. It's now Nigel Farage is the news now. If you look at the media today, it's all about Nigel Farage.
Yeah. I know, and that's just sad that they're trying to use that against Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
And they could try and use it against Rupert Lowe as well. And what?
Give them a chance. Give them a chance. They will.
And I'm so sad about Ben Habib. He could have been. He deserved better. Ben Habib did as well. But I hope he rejoins. I hope he joins Restore Britain and he becomes deputy leader, and Restore Britain unites with Advance finally, and they start standing together, because that's what we really need. We need unity, especially use Henry as that platform to unite the whole of the right.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
The fact that there's a 2-tier system and the right will never get in because there's too many white liberal bastards, that think that, white privilege. I've never had white privilege, and I've lived in some of the roughest areas in Birmingham. I never had white privilege. I was moved to the back of the queue because I was white in school and that. So I've seen it all my life. I've seen it all, and you know what? I'm 35 years old, and from everything that I've witnessed growing up in Birmingham, the discrimination, the disgrace against white people, the labelling, everything, and you know what? It has to end now. If it doesn't, things are only going to get worse. And I tell you something: the English will rise, the Scottish will rise, the Welsh will rise, the Irish will rise. We will all rise, and because what people are forgetting, we are a warrior race, and in the Magna Carta, Every Englishman has a right to bear a sword. If they're allowed to bear their weapons, then we should be able to bear ours. And how come our women are not allowed to have pepper spray? They're the victims in this as well. The women that have been groomed, the girls, or it's just victims everywhere, and no
Yeah.
one's doing nothing about it.
Well, look, Andrew, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on, venting your frustrations there. It's important that we allow people to do that. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. CT is up next. CT, good evening.
Good evening, Paul. How are you?
I'm very well, my friend. What's on your mind? Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Couple of things. I mean, first of all, I mean, I understand the anger and I understand the anger completely, but people are being psychologically maneuvered into a place that they really do not want to be. Because if there's enough insurrection, if there's enough people taken to the streets, then the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to send out the military and all the crowd dispersal technology. We do not have weapons. We are
Yeah, no,
not
I agree.
armed.
Yeah.
So that
No,
is not. It's not going to work.
yeah, let's be very clear, and thank you for that. You know, I've always, everyone knows this, I've always advised against any insurrection, any violence, any bad behaviour, because, like you just said, it doesn't get you anywhere. But go on, carry on.
Well, it's also playing. It's exactly what they want.
Yeah,
Because there's also we're on one particular side, then you've got the people on the left who are on another side, and in between is a buffer of people who are controlled by I don't know, apathy, more interest in football and Love Island than
yeah,
kind of looking around at what's actually happening,
yeah,
and they're acting as an insulating barrier between us and kind of the far left and the institutions. And if there's insurrection, if there's violence, it's just gonna widen that gap.
yeah.
People
Of
have
course.
to be smarter.
Yeah,
People have to stop being manipulated and look up, because it's our institutions, it's the power structures which are behind decades and decades of mass uncontrolled immigration. They're behind, the educational institutions, the cultural institutions, this whole DEI, which is, how do you put it? As a someone who's nearly 52, I hate to say it, but person of color, there was a problem with, there was a problem with racism. Lots of
yeah.
people
Years
don't want
ago,
to hear
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, years
there
ago there
was.
was. Yeah. We all know that. Yeah,
So you use one group. One group is manipulated. Now, that started the whole DEI initiative. Now, it's the white indigenous population who are the targeted group, and now they're being played. You just play one group against the other to advance an agenda that you want, and that's
yeah,
exactly what's happening. One group is being pitted against the other group, and the other group is then being pitted against the other group. All the while, we're moving closer and closer and closer to this Orwellian nightmare where everyone is controlled by digital ID and a digital currency.
yeah.
That's the end game, and we're just moving closer and closer towards it. Unless people start looking up, it's just going to continue. We have to change our institutions. That's the only way to change what's happening at the moment. Have to stop getting angry and start getting strategic. It's the only way.
I think it's okay to be angry, but you can get strategic at the same time, can't you? You know, anger is a good thing if you use it as a motivation rather than
Yes.
than a disadvantage. I mean, the people that go out and start throwing bricks and rocks, they're using your anger. They're using their anger in a negative disadvantage scenario. But if you're angry and you can turn that into a positive energy, that can be a good thing. I think there's a lot of people like watching this right now, probably even yourself. You know, you're angry, but you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing something positive.
Well, there's a reactive anger and there's a righteous anger. And where
Yeah,
righteous anger comes in is when you know that you're angry for a reason and you intend to do something about it instead of
Yeah,
just being reactive.
yeah.
So I'm all for righteous anger. I'm so angry at what's happened, but I can't watch that footage
Oh,
of
it's
what happened
horrible,
to him.
isn't
I
it?
can't watch it. It
Horrible.
makes me feel dizzy and it makes me feel sick. I just can't watch it. And also to be honest, I don't believe the coroner's verdict that the death was unavoidable. But
Yeah,
within that whole hour, there was nothing that could be done. Sorry,
yeah.
I don't buy it. Again, I think it's just more institutional corruption.
Well, CT, I've got to say, my friend, I absolutely agree with you on that one. I'm sorry that, the coroner's report seems to me
Convenient.
conveniently scripted. Is that the right word? The scenario seems convenient. The ultimate scenario, the prognosis seems very convenient to fit the narrative, doesn't it? But
And also as sorry, Paul.
yeah, no, carry on, mate. Go on.
And also, it's exactly the same playbook as Southport. It's
Yeah,
exactly the same
yeah,
thing is happening. This, did people honestly, like, ask yourself, do you honestly expect a different reaction from Starmer, from the
mm,
media? Do you honestly expect it's people kind of have
yeah,
this trust in these people still when
yeah,
all they do is lie and gaslight,
yeah,
and people
yeah,
need to just accept that they're not going to do anything except lie and gaslight, and they
yeah.
have to they have to be
And
removed or this
and they're,
doesn't stop.
and they're going to stitch you up at every given opportunity. There's some really wise words there, people watching this tonight. Look, at the end of the day, like I said right at the start of the show, at the top of the show, I understand everyone's anger, but anyone that goes out and misbehaves, throws bottles, throws bricks, gets pissed, starts throwing cans of beer, you're not helping the cause. Not one bit. You're putting us back, in fact, and giving the media and Keir Starmer exactly what he wants. Look, emergency courts open again. There'll be doors being kicked down every day now for the next 5, 6, 7, 10 days until they've got enough. And you'll see them in the media. There'll be 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 50-year-olds sent to jail for the first time in their lives. Don't give them what they want. CT, anything else to say before I let you go?
Just there's one last thing. I'm not a religious person. I don't subscribe to organized religion, but I very much believe in things are structured, and there's a spiritual intelligence behind it all. And I think people, whatever they believe in, people really need to pray and have the armor of God, whatever that means to them, around them, because this is a spiritual battle as well, and people need to tune into their hearts
Yeah,
and
yeah,
to love, and to that warrior spirit. But this is a spiritual battle as well, and people need to tune in and speak to whatever God means to them, and
yeah. Tune into good
that'll
versus
really
evil
help.
for me. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Please make sure you visit us again. All the very best to you. Let's have a look. We've got Animal up next. Good evening, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good man. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed. What's on your mind?
What a brilliant caller that was, CT. I want to start by saying that we differ a little bit on this one point. Is I can watch that video and I can keep watching that video because I think everybody needs to be slapped into the reality of the time that we live in the world that we live in, and how people are being treated on the off of the back of these mad critical race theory that we've imported from America and DEI practices that we've put into place. We've spoken about this before, Paul. What he's absolutely right about is the cooling ourselves, not letting that anger spill out into physical violence, into the streets. The last thing we need is to have this whole side of ours, because he's right. It's what they want. It's what they want.
Yeah,
they want us
absolutely.
to do this. So he's absolutely right about that point. The next thing I want to talk about, Paul, I've got a few things to say. I'm sorry. So
Yeah, no, go on,
I'm going to try and be
mate.
quick. There's a few people out there that have wanted to defend the police in all of this, saying, "Oh, you know, you don't know what it's like to come into that situation and everything." And you know, they were just doing what they were trained to do and stuff. The thing is that you know, a lot of these guys, they don't know their fucking arse from their elbow. You know, they've probably got into that position through you know, not the right means. You know, not been trained to a high enough standard. The standards are definitely slipping. And there's multiple things that these guys could have judged upon approaching Henry and approaching these guys. Two things that were said by the perpetrators themselves, which the first one being, "I've tried to sit him up, but he keeps flopping over." That's a red flag, right?
Yeah,
the next red flag.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The next red flag, his mouth is full of blood. Those are two things where you should instantly go, okay, this person is injured. I need to check him first. Yeah. And then there were the things that Henry said, and the way that Henry was seen. He was pale. He had that raspiness in his voice, which was probably that he was choking on blood or trying to breathe and try to talk through the blood, you know, that was filling up his lungs and you know, in his mouth. And then the last thing is obviously what Henry said to them. I called an ambulance. I've been stabbed. I can't breathe. All of those things were said to the police before they decided to handcuff him and read him his rights. Yeah. That is disgraceful. What you want is for officers to be able to use their own common sense and judgment within, you know, the framework of the guidance that they've been given from the police, which, by the way, is DEI. You know, we've established that since I think it was last year, maybe that this guidance was updated to say that, you know,
it's on their own website.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on their own website. This is disgraceful, and this is the kind of thing that we need to be fighting. But again, you know, we can't be doing that out in the street violently. We have to be smart about this. We can't play the game the way that they think that we are playing, that we would play it, and how, you know, they expect us to play it and how they want us to play it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as you rightly pointed out, you know, when I forensically sort of tried to go through that video yesterday, within 30 seconds of that police officer arriving, anyone with even half of a brain cell would have been straight on the phone to an ambulance. But, you know.
Yeah, but it's because they got called up and they said, there is a racist here, right? Yeah. So, you know, they came and they expected to see their white racist on the ground, and that was what it was all about. That's why. And also, by the way, the phone call that the brother made as well, right at the beginning, where he gets asked if any weapons were used. He gets asked that twice. The first time he just says no. The second time he says, no, I don't know what kind of weapons could be used. And that is what I call fluff. You don't need to say fluff. You either say yes or you say no. You don't need to add fluff on the end of it. So already the bullshit meter's going, you know, when you're on the phone to these lads. He knew. Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I want to say.
I was going to say, we're getting quite a bit of wind there. So let's move on to your next topic, mate.
Okay, last thing I want to say, mate, is I think this is a terrible thing for the Sikh community as well, because these people are fantastic. They're integrated into our culture. They're great people. I don't agree with banning the kirpan. I don't think that's probably right. They've you know, been allowed to have this thing, and it happens all over the globe wherever they are. They're very responsible with it. It's part of their you know, their religion, you know, to do this, and they're a great community. And I think that we need. They seem to be allies through this as well. You know, they've come out and they've condemned it, and I think that we need to find pathways forward, maybe with you know, differences being made as to how they carry them, maybe them you know, incorporated into bracelets or however they do it, rather than you know, attack them. Well, not attack them, but, you know, punish them in a sense, because this for me is one guy, one family who chose a hell of a time to do something that isn't usual in the Sikh community.
Yeah, let me just come back to you on that one. Look, first of all, I agree entirely. The Sikh community, brilliant people, never had problems with them. Utmost respect for them. And don't forget, this bastard had robbed one of their temples last year, right? So he's not exactly in their good books in the first place. The only thing that I'm going to slightly disagree with you on there with the kirpan is this, is that, look, I understand it's a religious requirement, but, you know, when in the past, when there's been a shooting, if I go back to Hungerford, for an example, right, which was obviously a terrible event, They took everyone's guns, right? Whenever there's always a reaction from the government. You know, if look, the bottom line is, I think this: if you're either allowed to carry a knife or you're not. Now, in the UK, you can carry a 3-inch knife as long as it's not a fixed blade. So I think there's got to be some kind of adaptation down the road where everyone comes under the same law. You know, there has been, I believe, a few incidents over the years with the curb hang. And I don't want to punish the Sikh community for what one person has done. But if the law's going to be equal, it has to be equal for everyone. Otherwise, it's not equal.
What I would propose was, you know, rather than to sort of blanket ban, would be to have them glued into their sheaths, for example.
That's a good point.
So they're unable. They're unable because if they take the blade out anyway, they're susceptible to the laws the same way as everybody else. That has to be stayed in the sheath, right? So even if they take it out, they are in trouble anyway. So to have them glued in or fixed into the sheath so that the blade can't be revealed, I think, you know, it would be a solution that maybe I would propose. But you know, what I would like to say is to just tread carefully and cautiously around this, because you know the Sikh community is outraged as we are by this.
I've not. The good news is, thank you very much, Animal. I really appreciate that. I'm going to remove you, mate, only because of the wind noise I'm getting back through you. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that. That was Animal there. I think no, I've not heard anyone talking badly about the Sikh community. We all understand what is going on here. Let's try and get, we've got Charlie, we've got Vicky, we've got Jackie, we've got Alan, we've got Ray, we've got Sharon, we've got Nelly, all coming up. Let's try Vicky again, see if she's got herself working now. Vicky, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I've got you, Vicky, at last.
Oh.
How are you doing?
I don't know what was going on there, but
No, neither do I. Good evening, welcome back.
thank you. How are you, Paul?
I'm really good, apart from obviously the horrors are the UK, and this week, you know, it's I don't know, the older you get, the more sensitive you become, and this one has really got to me, if I'm honest.
Same. I think you become acutely aware of your own mortality. You know what I mean, as you get older. And I think you see your own children growing up, and you understand how precious being 18 years old is, and he was a kid. At the end of the day, he was still a kid.
Have you seen the video of him dancing with his sister? It's just freaking heartbreaking.
I actually reposted that on TikTok because it's heartbreaking. Just a normal kid having fun, you know, working towards what he wanted in his life, and just being taken out the way that he was, and then everything that's come from it. And I guess one of the things I want to respond to is this moron LBC presenter guy. Is it O'Brien?
James O'Brien, yeah.
Now, I don't watch his show because I don't really like to rage bait myself.
Right.
But I was watching something else, and they showed a clip of him, and I obviously got mad. And it was, I'm sure a lot of other people have seen it and as mad as I was, where he basically said, well, all the white people are shouting it's racist. And actually, maybe it's just because it's their turn that they think it's racist. And I'm like, so you're saying that he's just a sacrificial lamb, is he? This poor lad, that now we've got to take it on the chin because now it's our turn. And something else I want to say is, if you remember the Desmond Show, Bend It Like Beckham, 80s and 90s, that wasn't about being progressive, or it wasn't about identity politics. It was about a country that would organically let people come into our country, and we shared our culture together. The Desmond Show was a primetime show. It wasn't on at 12 midnight, and everybody watched that show because it had become, like I said, part of our culture. The Bend It Like Beckham was about an Asian family. That was a massive success. You know, nobody was told that they've got to watch it. Nobody was told that it was made by a progressive director. Those were the times when organically we got on together. Of course, racism always exists, but to be called racist because we're reacting to one culture having religious preferential treatment and people coming into our country that we don't know is the division that Keir Starmer and the likes of the LBC presenter are creating. To call 30 to 40% of the country racist, far right, because we don't like the policies, that is a leader of the country actively creating division. He's using
100%.
he's using us as a scapegoat to deflect from the absolutely abysmal job that they're doing and the chaos that they're throwing us into. So that LBC guy to say now it's our turn. No, when in 2011 there was a massive riots, wasn't there? Because the I think he was black or mixed race guy got shot by the Met.
Yeah.
40% of the people that got arrested were white. In the past, when institutional racism happened, the white people were outraged too. All people were. But now all of a sudden, if white people get hurt or there's two-tier justice, we're just out here on our own. I was so mad when I saw that bloody idiot.
James O'Brien is a professional shit stirrer. I can't say what I'd like to say about James O'Brien. I've already had, by the way, this is a bit of breaking news. I've already had one solicitor's email today.
Oh, really?
From a very, very, very wealthy individual threatening to sue me for something that I said about him. So I'm going to be a little bit careful as to what I say about James O'Brien. I don't want another solicitor's letter on my doorstep. But
well, they can send one to me if they can find me.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, look, the thing is, the bottom line is we all know what James O'Brien is. And for me, the time has come to boycott LBC completely.
Yes. Why do people watch that show? I do not know.
Yeah, why do they listen to it? Boycott LBC. And more importantly, Vicky, boycott their advertisers, because that is where it hits them.
Exactly.
Boycott LBC's advertisers. If you hear a company advertising on LBC, boycott.
Stop using them,
Stop using them.
And the last thing I want to say about Keir Starmer, and it's just a little thing because there's so many things, isn't there? When he stood up today and he said, you know, Elon Musk is interfering in British politics when Elon Musk is the only person that has offered this family the money to sue the police, somebody outside of the country. But also he said, you know, that the AI images that Grok has made and we're going after Grok. And I'm like, how about all the images that the Labour MPs have on their phone that have been prosecuted for being PDFs? What about the guy at the BBC that didn't get prosecuted for having images on his phone? And these weren't AI images. These were real human children. So he can just shut up, Keir Starmer, basically.
I'm getting to the point mentally where I can't listen to him anymore because I feel like my head's literally going to implode. The gaslighting from the man, the levels of deceit, the levels of deflection are just insane. And this is the thing, right? This is the thing, Vicky, right? If people are fed up with hearing Keir Starmer say full force of the law, don't give him a frigging reason to use the full force of the law.
True.
You know, don't go to these demonstrations and start lobbing bricks and bottles, because that is precisely what this man wants, so he can use the full force of his law.
But you said it earlier, and I can understand why. You know, what's happened to Henry is going to radicalise a lot of young white men.
Of course it is, Vicky.
You know?
Of course it is. People are being radicalised by the day. And you know, I've spent 3 years nearly now trying to de-radicalise people by encouraging them to engage in politics, to register to vote. And do you know what? Even if I flew home tomorrow, I bet the bastards would pull me, and God knows what they're going to do to me.
You know they would.
That's the state, that is the position that we've got into now in this country, and it's our own fault, but we can get out of it. Register to goddamn vote. We're going to be talking about that in a while. Vicky, brilliant call. Thank you so much.
Thanks for letting me up, Paul.
Yeah, no, appreciate your patience. Thank you, Vicky. That was a great call. Charlie's up next. Charlie, good evening, mate.
Good evening, brother. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, Charlie, and thank you for your super there, mate. Appreciate that.
That's all right, mate.
God bless you, mate.
First of all, I just want to send my heartfelt condolences to him and Novak's family. I think that's the only thing we can really do. What we saw in Southampton the other night, I personally, I wouldn't have done it in the way that people did it in fighting with the police, because all that's done is give
No.
the mainstream media and
Yeah,
Keir Starmer what they
exactly.
want.
Yeah.
It doesn't give us a good look when we're trying to unite the right. But you know, at the end of the day, you can't blame people for the way they've reacted to this. It's disgusting. And instead of the thing that annoyed me yesterday is when I was watching PMQs and Nigel Farage, he's the only one. I don't know why Rupert Lowe didn't get a question, because as far as I'm aware, because this was because this was mainly based around Henry Novak, I don't understand why Rupert Lowe didn't get to answer ask a question, because every other political party leader got to ask one. Those that were in House of Commons.
Was Rupert there?
I think so. I'm assuming he was. I mean, it was filled. I didn't see him not there, but I'm
Put it
pretty
this
sure.
way, I would imagine if he was, he'd have wanted to have said something. But anyway, carry on, mate.
But yeah, no. I just think the way Keir Starmer has reacted, Nigel Farage hasn't called for division. What he wants to do is he wants to call this out so we can get the law changed, so that this doesn't happen again to anyone else.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, this is just the start. And Lee Anderson said this quite rightly on GB News last night. Now, whether people like Reform or Lee Anderson or whatever, now obviously that's people's personal business, right? But what he said was right. If we can't call this out publicly to the Prime Minister, what is the point of us being MPs, and what is the point of us being here? And he said that quite rightly.
Exactly. Well, as far as Keir Starmer's concerned, we live in a all-consuming communist regime now, where he and his cohorts are in charge, and nobody else has the right to say anything else. I mean, Charlie, look, you're a young man, not too far away from Henry's age.
Yeah.
As a contemporary,
yeah.
What did you feel when you listened and watched that the other night? Can you imagine being in that position?
Well, I'm in a wheelchair. I mean, it's bad enough being in a fucking. I mean, I already feel like I'm sort of paralysed in a way, because I'm in a wheelchair. I can't get up and walk about like normal people can, and so I already, it's. I cried when I heard his father speaking outside that courtroom. I mean, I played it to my mother, and even she had a tear in her eye, and it made me cry, and it made me feel with rage yesterday when Keir Starmer was saying we don't have two-tier policing, and everyone around Nigel sitting around, and the Lib Dems behind him that was smearing him, saying condemn the violence. Well, how about instead of condemning the violence, which obviously it should have been done differently, condemn the police force that allowed this to happen in the bloody first place.
Yeah.
That's the reason this happened. If that hadn't have happened, if those police officers would have acted with a bit of dignity and respect for that young lad, he might have still been alive today. He might have recovered. We wouldn't have been having this discussion right now.
Absolutely. Charlie, the thing is, they're trying to say that we're making this into a race thing. Actually, we're not.
It's not.
The guy that committed the murder brought the race thing into it.
Yeah,
right?
he's the one that phoned the police. He knew what he was doing, because he knew the police would act.
Exactly.
Because he said he was racially abused. And also, another thing I want to bring up, Paul, as well, is, I don't know if you've heard about this, but Matt Chorley from the BBC, I'm assuming you've heard about it.
Yeah,
but
no, I haven't, no.
So the other night, he was interviewing Kemi Badenoch of the Conservatives. He purposefully misled, he purposefully misquoted Nigel Farage on his comments. And he,
yes.
Pure white rage, really?
Yeah.
He never said that. Yeah, and then I don't know if you've heard about his tweet, Paul, but he's put this and said, "I owe Nigel Farage an apology." He said, it was a he said, "However, I referred to white cold rage. This was a mistake on my part. A misremembering of the quote. No, it weren't, you lying prat. Yeah. This was on purpose. You knew what you were doing. Because you're working for that." Oh, don't get me started.
That's the second apology from the BBC that I've seen to Nigel Farage in the last 24 hours.
Well, this is the point, and this is where it brings me to Makerfield, right? This is where it brings me to Makerfield. I want the Restore Britain vote supporters in it, and I understand. Listen, we're all on the same side, right? Forget about Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage. Whatever, if you, I get, if you don't like Nigel Farage, I understand that. But forget about the two leaders just for a minute. I don't care who gets in, as long as it's not Andy Burnham. Do you really think Labour voters are thinking Andy Burnham's going to turn the country around? Do you really think he's going to do that? You need to give your head a wobble, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. All he's going to do is bring in more woke left. Well, I don't even know what else he's going to do, but we know he's going to we know he's going to close the asylum hotels and give councils the permissions to house these asylum seekers,
Yeah.
which means they could be living to your next door neighbour. So,
Yeah.
Restore voters, please think carefully before you go out and vote on June the 18th. And just stop Andy Burnham, please. That's all that matters, is stopping Andy Burnham. Whether you like Nigel or whether you like Rupert, it doesn't matter. This is not about them. This is about saving our country. And I would vote for anyone to keep him out.
Charlie, you know, once again, you make an absolutely fabulous point. And you've actually sort of...
Sorry, Paul, I didn't mean to overshadow your...
No, mate, listen, what you've done is you've preempted something that I was going to say later on in the show, but seeing as you're on it, I might as well go through it now. Look,
yeah,
guys, this is how sincere I am as an individual and as a person. You know how much I've supported Ben Habib in the past, and I still support Ben. I think Ben's a great guy. I'm going to talk a little bit more about his decision with Advance later on in the show, but for now, what I'm going to say tonight, I hope proves my sincerity and my firm, unresolved belief in what I'm telling you to be the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to join Restore UK. Okay. So I'm going to sign up and become a member of Restore UK. However, at the Makerfield by-election, I will be supporting and campaigning for reform.
Yeah. That's a sensible thing.
The reason I'm doing that, I want to show my support for Rupert. I want to show my support for his beliefs, his patriotism, his bravery. I'm not a fan of some of the people that he has around him, but that doesn't matter. I'm not in this for personalities. I'm in this to win our country back. So I'm going to join Restore. But I'm not going to campaign for him at the Makerfield by-election because I think it would be an absolute freaking disaster. And I've got to tell you, you know, the poll that I've been running on my own channel over the last few hours, let me just get it up, Charlie. It's good timing, you bringing that up, actually.
I did see a poll you put up. Was it yesterday or was it today? I can't remember what the question was.
Can't remember when I put it up, but let me just go to it a moment.
It was about whether any one party on the right can win the Makerfield by-election. This
is very, very revealing. Look at this. Look, we've got 11,000 votes on this. And the question, and I want everyone, let's try and have a grown-up conversation for a moment, everyone, right? Because if there's any Restore supporters out there that think they can win at Makerfield, please come on and tell me how they think they're going to win it. Now, this is what we're faced with, Charlie.
Yeah.
The question was, can either Restore or Reform win the absolutely vital Makerfield by-election whilst running against each other? 48% said yes, there's enough votes to go round. 48% say no, the vote will be split and it will cause a disaster. And 3% said, I don't care. Now, those percentages there on that vote alone should tell you precisely what is going to happen at Makerfield.
Yeah, and this is the thing. And again,
neither of them are going to win.
No,
we won't get Restore and we won't get Reform. We'll get Andy Burnham. We'll get a new Labour government within the next 12 months. And we've got another 6 years of this fucking lot.
And the problem is as well, Paul, I just want to say as well, is when you look at, like I said this to my nan as well, I was speaking to her about it the other day on the phone, that imagine Andy Burnham gets 17,000 votes, for example. Just imagine that. Reform get 12,000 and Restore get 5,000. In a way, Restore have handed the keys to Andy Burnham, and this is why we're saying, listen, this is not about Rupert Lowe. And I think Rupert Lowe should have done the honourable thing. And I think what Ben Habib, I
So do
watched
I.
this video yesterday, and the way Ben Habib conducted that was absolutely fantastic. He's doing the right thing for the country, and he said, Advance are not going to go away forever. We're going to leave Advance in a place where if we need to come back in the future, we can come back. But I'm taking Advance off of the electoral register so we don't have so many political parties on the right. Because the problem we've got now is, even when a general election comes,
Yeah.
and this is the thing that the left do that we don't, Lib Dem voters and Green voters are going to vote for the Labour lot.
Yeah.
Because they don't care whether they like the leader. They hate us more than they hate them.
Yeah, exactly. No,
This
Charlie,
is why.
Charlie, you are spot on. You're
Yeah,
spot
I
on.
just, all I'm saying is, listen, we need to, first of all, please, guys, no more rioting. Do this the right way. I think what everyone should do, Paul, right? And this is how I would play. This is how we know back. Finally, this is how I would play it. We all need to organise a peaceful protest, like we did with Unite the Kingdom. We all need to march up to Parliament, and we all need to take the knee outside Downing Street and chant for White Lives Matter. That's what we need to do. Make it peaceful. Do another Unite the Kingdom protest, but do it not under the Unite the Kingdom banner, but do one similar to make a point of getting rid of two-tier policing. That's the way we combat this situation, not by going out on the street and fighting with the police and rioting and God knows what else, because all that's going to happen is you're going to get a knock on your door or police booting down your door and you're going to get 6 or 7 years in jail. For what?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
100%. And Charlie, listen, take my advice, mate. Have a word with your local party representative. See if you can get to stand maybe for MP one day. Charlie, I'm going to let you go, brother.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you, mate. All the best, yeah. God bless.
Thank you, brother. Bye, mate. Bye,
That's
bye.
the excellent
Bye.
Charlie there. Just want to go through. We've got Alan, we've got Ray, we've got Sharon, Nelly, Raoul, Robert, and Jackie. I think Raoul is probably going to be very interesting this evening. Before we get on to our next caller, I just want to show you something here, everyone. This is the ex-post from Rupert Lowe, and he says, Ben Habib has just announced that Advance UK is taking a step back in order to allow the momentum behind Restore Britain to build. Ben has previously endorsed Restore Britain in Makerfield, and I thank him for that. I believe that Ben and the wider Advance UK membership are patriots who want the best for Britain. They are welcome in our Restore Britain family to help deliver the radical change that the country so desperately needs. I haven't seen anything there that I disagree with so far. Ben and I have not always agreed on logistics over the last few months. That's obviously been apparent, and that's politics, yeah. But this is an incredibly principled decision, and I have the utmost respect for what Ben has sacrificed to build Advance to where it is today. For both Ben and I, it is country first every single time. Now, this is the contentious part for me. Let me just read that again. For both Ben and I, it is country first every single time. Now, I would say to both Ben and to Rupert here, if that's true, we have to stop Andy Burnham from winning at Makerfield. We have to. And then he goes on, and this is the part that I'm not particularly keen on. It will be an honour to welcome Ben and the Advance UK membership into Restore Britain, but that is a decision for them, and I'll respect whatever they decide. That's fine. In the years to come, today will be seen as a significant event on Britain's path to restoration. Now, the problem I have with that, guys, right, is that he's inviting Ben to join Restore. I think Ben deserves a little bit more than an offer to pay 20 quid to become a member or whatever it is. I'll find out tomorrow when I join myself. Ben's better than that. And I think Rupert would have done well to have picked up the phone to Rupert and said, I tell you what, Rupert, how about this? How about you offer all of your people, all of your members that have joined Advance, we'll give them free membership to Restore if they wish to join us. Now, many of them probably have anyway, so it's not like it's going to cost them a load of money, right? That would have been a kind of an amalgamation rather than well, if you want to come and join, that's fine. And for Ben himself, To be invited to join Restore, that doesn't impress me, if I'm honest. I think Ben's better than that, and I think he deserves a better response. That's my own view. But I'm going to be join. I'm going to join Restore. I can't join Reform. Reform won't have me. But I tell you now, I will be back in Reform at Makerfield. Let's get Nelly on. Nelly, good evening. Nelly, can you hear me?
I'm here.
Hello, Nelly. I've got you. How you doing?
Hi,
What's
hello.
on your mind?
First things first. I'm a very working class white female. I have been to red brick universities. I sent my sons and daughters to red brick universities. And I am telling you now, the reaction with the rioting was completely democratically justified. And I'm not having anyone tell me that after watching that video of Henry Novak, that these poor people, the bloody working class, that why have they demonized the working class when they're bloody upset? I'm not having that.
Well, the thing is, Nelly, is that we all know that the media, any sort of bad behaviour.
No. Wait, before you say that, Paul, these people were livid. Can I swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
Fucking livid yesterday on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You've seen the video.
Yeah.
Now, if we don't do that, and if we don't throw bins at the policemen, and if we don't fucking throw bricks at them, who are we? Come on.
The problem is, Nelly, it's a lived experience.
Not a problem.
No, Nelly, hold on. I was going to say the problem is that the people that do that are living the experience in that they've seen other demographics get away with it, and they think they can do the same thing.
Babes, I don't care about it. We were livid on Tuesday,
Absolutely.
Right? There is nothing wrong with being democratically, justifiably livid, right? I have never seen a video like that in my entire life.
No, neither have I. No.
And and I'm not joking. If the guys that were the media like cuss the working class people for being like, oh, look at them throwing bricks and shit. We were livid. Livid.
The whole nation is.
Paul, and I'll tell you another thing. While other people are listening here, there is a tribute to Henry in Paris on Sunday at 5 p.m, by the way, in the centre of Paris. And we don't do it because, I'm scared of being filmed. I'm sick of it. Shut up. We are livid. We are not. Why is everyone not throwing bricks at the police? If I was there on Tuesday, I'd have thrown a house at the police. No man fucking bin.
The thing is, though, Nelly, at the end of the day, unfortunately, all that is going to lead to is more arrest. You know that, I know that, and we don't want to see people being arrested. We don't want to see people being put in prison, and we don't want to give Keir Starmer the opportunity to use his full force of the law. You know what he's like. Nelly, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I think this is going to be an interesting one tonight. Raoul, good evening.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly, Raoul.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good evening, mate. How are you feeling?
Good evening, Paul. Good evening, everyone else. How am I feeling? I'm feeling absolutely angry, disgusted. First off, send my condolences to Henry's family.
Yeah.
God bless. May the Lord be with him, give him strength, and may Henry be in heaven with our Lord and Savior, looking on all of us. When I watched that video for the first time, I remember it was in the evening. I finished work. I was working from home. I'll be honest, I couldn't go to sleep. I went to sleep about 3 o'clock. It was just buzzing in my head.
Raoul, just before we go any further, just tell our viewers, for those who haven't heard from you before, tell our viewers about your background so they know who you are.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So my name's Raoul. I've been on the show a couple of times, as the regulars know. and thank you for always bringing me on. I come from a Sikh background, so I've called in a couple of times. I've been radio silent lately. I've been on holiday, so
Yeah.
I've been working away, but I've been watching everything going on. So that's who I am. That's
Yeah.
who I am. So
Yeah. Carry on, mate.
So yeah, so I've got a couple of things I want to bring to the table. First off, how his father, I mean Henry's father, kept it together, kept it calm, and seeing the mother and seeing his sister. Jeez, God bless them.
Yeah.
If that was me, or and I was a father, look, I don't have children, God willing, I'll do one day. I don't think I could have kept it that sound and that steady. So the Lord is on their side. What I would say is the following: everyone has a right to be angry. Everyone has a right to vent and be frustrated. But what I saw from Danny Tomo at the protest was fantastic. He saw what was about to happen. A lot of you would have been nicked. A lot of you were ready to be arrested. Your lives would have been ruined. And this would have worked perfectly in the hands of the authorities, the government, the Home Office, the civil servants, because they want to bring more laws in to clamp your freedom. They want to rile you up even more. They perfectly know what they're doing, but they're sitting there with smug faces because we are emotional and we have a right to be emotional. But please, people, if you are that angry where you're risking throwing your life away, young people, if you're listening, if you're ruining and risking throwing your life away, to sit down for a second, sit with loved ones, get it off your chest with them, because you are going to ruin your life. We're all angry. And another thing, you hear these usual culprits in the mainstream media, Sky News, BBC, the authorities, the government. They don't want to discuss this matter with you, because having to have an open conversation points the finger back at them, because it's their policies that have created this. So they want to call you far right. They want to call you racist because it shuts down the argument, because they don't want the accountability and responsibility of the mess for 50 to 40 years that they've created. This doesn't just sit with Henry. This has been going all the way back to many different cases. This is going all the way back to the rape gangs that began in the 70s and 80s of the young white girls. And another factor on that, I used to find it really frustrating, Paul, when I used to hear people, let's say on our side, defending the police. Why would you defend institutions across the country that are the wing of the police, that defended young white English girls being, can I say the R word? I don't want to get your channel in trouble.
Exactly. We know what you mean. We know what you mean.
Being raped, being passed, being human trafficked and killed. Why would you defend them? Just look at these people. They are soulless. Their eyes, look at their eyes. There's nothing there. They are so indoctrinated. That police officer came to automatically, he was guilty, Henry was. He was purely guilty in this police officer's head because he was a white male. And this goes all the way back to the policies. So when people are attacking Farage on the opposition, and probably there are these sort of liberals in the Conservative Party, you are demonic, you are dark in your soul, because what Farage is getting at, he's trying to push the government to look at their failures and the authorities and to reverse this. That's why he is talking about this, and give the man a credit. Look, he ain't perfect. We know he flips and flops, but just give the man credit on this occasion, because he stood up there, taking the abuse, and I saw the little cretins around him sneering and everything. So that's that situation on that. So I'm going to dissect this in a way. The other factor is the regards to the Sikh situation. The Sikhs don't feel that we're being attacked. I'm a Sikh. I speak to other Sikhs. We don't feel like we're being attacked. We are angry because of this scumbag of a family not just put the Sikh name in a bad position. You took away an innocent life.
Yeah.
You took away an innocent life, calling yourself a Sikh, using articles of faith that were given to you by your 10th guru for the oppression tyrants against the Islamics. You used that weapon. You brought shame to everyone, and I hope you rot. I hope you feel every form of pain in that prison cell. Because let's be honest, I ain't got a problem with Muslims, but the Muslim and Sikh community ain't the best of friends at
Not the
times.
best of friends, though.
And the prisons are full of them. Hey, Muslims, do us a favour. Deal with this lad in there, will you? Take care of him. Take care of the whole
Oh, dear.
family. Take care of the whole family, because I tell you now, what happens in the article Faith for Seekers, and when someone does this, and I want everyone to hear this, you are disowned by the community, you are removed of that status, you are removed of the kara, which is the bangle, because you no longer have link to God, and you are excommunicated. We're not like some communities. We ain't going to protect our bads. We will feed them to the lions and say,
Yeah.
take them.
Same as
Take
us.
these,
Yeah.
rot them out. And this is what I love about the English as well. They're the same. If there's a bad in there, get them out.
Yeah.
But watching that video, Paul, what upset me even more and then made me more angry was that poor lad was there for how long he was. A decent family would be ashamed. They'll call the ambulance straight away and they say, this is what's happened. A good family would say, our son has done this and the law is going to deal with, because an innocent boy is going to be killed. You can hear it in my voice. It makes me angry because they all stood around him in that video. Just pause that video, everyone, for a second. They all stood around him. The police all stood around him as if he was the sacrificial lamb to something. It is absolutely demonic and dark. And I hope the whole family gets prosecuted, and I get the whole family thrown in prison. And I hope the screws turn a blind eye, and I hope someone takes care of them.
Do you know what, Raul?
I'm going to be honest.
When you say that, no, Raul, look, I know you feel, I can feel your anger, mate, you know, and it's plain to see, you know, and we all know you as a great guest on this show, and, you know, thank you for bringing some real logic to it. The thing is, mate, is that you're right. It was just like he was a sacrificial lamb to the DEI slaughter, wasn't it? You know, and the police have become, this is what the police got to understand. You know, Trevor's just saying in the chat there, I'm trying to keep my eye on the chat, but it's coming through so thick and fast. The police are lost. You know, I think it's worse than that, Trevor, now. They've almost become like a paramilitary wing of the government, haven't they? You know, they're like the SS. You know, that might be a little bit harsh, to be fair, you know, comparing them to the SS, but you get what I mean. They're an organisation within our society that people now fear, but not for the right reasons.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you can see that in the engagement in the video. I see that sort of communication, not on a daily basis, because I don't really deal with the police. I'm not that kind of character. But I've seen it happen.
You never know, mate. Give it a chance.
Yeah, geez. Well, God willing, that doesn't happen. The way they communicate with people, their initial interactions with people isn't of a upstanding example of a public service civil servant individual. It's never, excuse me, sir, excuse me, madam, it's all right, mate. No. This is not how you communicate with the public. And the way they dragged the body and they moved it around, I was listening to a paramedic on another YouTube channel, and they said there is a possibility he could have survived, but the way they moved the body and the blood then starts to drain and flow in a different direction, sort of, I'm sorry to explain it in such a way. I apologize in regards to that. But I know an earlier caller, I forgot his name, there was a bit of wind in the background, but he made a good point. He was like, no, we need to start facing these dark situations to really wake us up. It's the slap in the face we need, because you've got the left and then you got us, and then you got I'm okay Jack in the middle. As a caller said, I've got my McDonald's, I've got my football, I've got my Love Island. And I've been in the office since, and people are angry. People are angry. They were talking about in the office, you know, you go, go to the canteen, you go for a walk with others, and people are angry. They can feel this, but people are scared at the same time because they know the government will use the police as their little Stasi. They know that at the same time. May I also bring on something? Do you want to say anything on that, Paul?
No, mate, go on, carry on. This is a chance you have your say. Go on, carry on.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. This is a war between, I always bring this up. This is a spiritual war, but a spiritual war based on our side, which is traditionalism, family, mum and dad, God, conservatism. It's all of that against internationalism, no borders, destruction of the nation state, destruction of the family. And the problem with the liberals are, they are just that. They're not patriotics. They're not nationalistics. We need to understand their mindsets. They are internationalist globalists. So in return, they would despise you and me and everyone in the chat. They would despise people who love their cities, towns, and villages and nations. That's why they despise the white English man and woman, because they are the heart and soul of this nation. They are the blood that flows through everything. You know, when we look back in history, we look back to great white English men and women of Christian heritage, and they despise that because you look across Europe, England, Britain as a union stands out far greater than everything else in Europe and across the world. To me personally, yeah, I've got a bias. I'm a patriotic British Sikh man. Yeah, I'm biased in that way. But they despise us because of that. And who do they really despise as well? They despise non-white people who stand with these English people. They despise them. Did you see that clip of Zia Yusuf and Kathy Newman on Sky News?
I did, yeah.
Really stuck it to her.
Yeah.
Really stuck it to her. You stood up for a career criminal who, ladies and gentlemen, stuck a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach. That's a fact. Go check it out. And we're celebrating this man who overdosed, and the true footage came out. And he really stuck it to her and said, that's the kind of people you defend. But you can't defend white people in this country. White British English people, you can't defend them. You can't say their lives matter. Of course you don't. For so many decades, young white girls have been harmed. This didn't just happen with Henry, and God bless his soul and God bless his family. This is going all the way back to the institutions who believed in this demonic, dark way of acting. And regards to the Gurban itself, which is the Sikhs don't feel attacked, and you will get some idiots in the community, especially that chap called Tan, who has the most annoying voice, who's an MP for Labour in Slough. And he's like, the Sikhs have been thrown under the bus, blah, blah, blah. You know, he's drank the Kool-Aid of Labour and the left, yeah? To me, this guy's a clowning as an embarrassment to the Sikh community. People are not attacking Sikhs. People are doing what mature adults do, is have a discussion about the Quran. There is nothing wrong about having a conversation about an article of a faith and say, hold up, some of us didn't know this actually existed. You know, it was hidden away. Wow. And if you look at you just do a simple search, some historic search in this country, this is the first time that it's been actually brought up where a article of faith or something similar to an article of faith was used to kill an individual innocently, to murder and slaughter him. This is the first time. I think the conversation is healthy, though.
Ralph, just to be clear on that, the weapon that was used was not his Kirpan anyway.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. The Kirpan is bent and shaped in a certain way.
It's
very hard to use as a weapon.
This was more like a Persian fighting knife from what I saw of it.
Yeah, and you can clearly see it's very straight and so on, etc. Now, this scumbag has a couple of years ago was investigated by the police and his sibling for alleged theft of equipment from the local Gurdwara where the Sikhs worship. There's plenty of videos. There's a video going of him waving his blade around. We've probably all seen that. So this individual is an embarrassment. He's a scumbag. If he weren't born here, I've got a funny feeling he is. Then his family should be looked into being prosecuted and deported. But these are all things that we can talk about. But I think what really matters at this current moment is people. I understand you're angry. I'm angry. It really frustrates me. But don't fall into the trap of ruining your own personal lives. Don't do that, because the media were very savvy. What they did was, at the protest, there was one by the police station where Tommy and everyone else was, and that was very peaceful, and I watched that one.
Yeah.
And there was another one in Southampton, but it looked like that one was, correct me if I'm wrong, looked like from the understandings I had, it was going towards that family's house, the murderer's house, and they had to block it off the road. What the media did was take that footage and made it out. The protest peaceful at the police station was the same thing. They're very crafty and savvy, and they use emotive language and so on to manipulate people in that way. But people, I just want to say the police are not your friends. Yes, we can say individually, not all of them like that. We had that lovely lady in London sticking it to the Muslims in Tower Hamlets, saying, "Hold up, this ain't your area. This is area for everyone." So you got good individuals like that. But as an institution, people higher ups, even just the foot soldiers in public, just be wary of these people. Just be wary of these people. They've shown their colors. They know who they are. There's no remorse with these people. There really isn't. But please don't ruin your own personal lives.
Don't ruin your own lives.
Yeah, don't do this. Be smart. Can I just say one more thing? Sorry.
Sure. Go on,
and I like
mate.
your opinion. You know, I like talking to people. I like listening to everyone and so on. I know Richard was on the show the other day when I was watching it, and great admirer of both of you. And I knew he was angry. I get it. He's so on. And he said something like, well, you know, if you have to carry a knife, you know, it's a bit of a dodgy religion. And I let it slide. A lot of Sikhs let it slide because he's angry in the moment. In the moment, he's angry. But Tommy Robinson did a great thing. He put a video out and he explained why the Quran was there. It was given by the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, because at that time, the tyrants of that region were the Muslims, the Islamic tyrants, and the Sikhs taught, defend yourself, become a warrior class, but defend others, the Buddhists, the Christians, the Hindus, and so on. So the Sikhs were considered God's warriors, protectors of the innocent, the vulnerable, and the injustice. So I would just say to people like Richard, I understand you're angry. We're all angry. You know, there was great pictures of like Sikhs coming out to the protest. There was one taxi guy come out and he put his head down in remorse and respect to the people protesting and everything. But look,
Raoul, look, what I can tell you is, Raoul, before I move on, because I've got a lot of guests waiting. You know, what I can say is that Richard is a supporter of the Sikh community. I can tell you that. He, like you say, he's angry. And you know, as I said earlier on, I'm not going to lie, you know, I do have to wonder. The question has to be asked, you know, if there's a law for one, it has to be a law for all. Maybe we got to come to a point where the Kirpan sits within UK law, and that is potentially possible, but that's a discussion for another time. Ralph, thanks so much for coming on, mate. It's always great to have you on. And you're certainly always welcome. All the best to you, mate. Have a great week.
Thank you, brother. Take care, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you very much, mate. God bless you, mate. Let's have a little look. Let's get through one or two of the supers. Tommy, rest in peace, Henry. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Good evening, brother. Hope you're well. Big love. That is young Charlie was on earlier. Didn't get through any of these yet. Sorry about that. Champagne monologues. Hardcore lefty James O'Brien talks about white privilege, takes the piss. He lives in a posh neighbourhood and sends his kid to a private school. Exactly. I just wouldn't pay that man any attention whatsoever. Rebellious Jay. Something has to give, Paul, and it will. Buckle up. I fear you may be right. Kenny Milson, will England and Scotland take the knee for Henry during the World Cup? I think we all know the answer to that. Gib Boy, Khan looks like he has baldy COVID. Thank you very much, June. Really appreciate that. Fletcher Liam, Paul, do you genuinely want to join Restore? Fletcher, if I didn't want to, I wouldn't join. But I think for me, it's important to join to show my support for the idea and the concept in the hope that Ben will be invited. But I fear, Fletcher Liam, that the reality, the grown-up politics side of things now, it's too late. We're not going to get the chance to get organised, grouped, to win the next general election. We have to win the next general election. When I say we, that's anyone other than Labour. Anyone, even the Tories. We have to defeat the enemy, right, at the polling station, right? And I will vote for whoever it takes to stop Andy Burnham. I'll vote for whoever it takes to stop the Labour Party. But I can join Restore as a goodwill gesture, for what that's worth, to offer my support to Rupert. I don't support some of the people around him. Don't particularly like their attitude, don't particularly like some of their views. But it's not about personalities, it's about saving our country. And if Rupert can continue to put pressure on reform, and by the way, let's give credit where it's due, both Zia Youssef and Nigel Farage have done a great job this week. I know there are a lot of people out there that don't like Zia Youssef, but I tell you what, and unless you've missed it, you tell me that Zia Youssef hasn't done a good job this week. And I'll tell you something else, everyone, whilst we're on the subject. Have you noticed, and I'll make a prediction here, have you noticed that Reform have been very quiet about a certain individual and a certain organisation? And I'm going to make a prediction. I don't think that you'll hear high-ranking Reform members knocking the United Kingdom movement and its people anymore. I think messages have got through, lessons have been learnt, and the urgency and the need to unite has finally got through to the hierarchy at Reform UK. And I think that is really, really important. Julie, thank you very much, Julie. Taking the knee en masse is a powerful message. Nicola, there's an alternative to aggro, civil disobedience. It worked for Gandhi. It would work for us. All it needs is for Nigel and Tommy to call for it. Thank you, Nicola. Charlie, thank you for the support, guys. Seriously, let's organise a peaceful protest to Parliament and seek justice for Henry, because white lives matter. Last one, thank you. Oh, no, it's not quite the last one. Sorry. Fletcher Liam, Paul, I can't watch the body cam. It's just too much. Yeah, it's horrible. Cool, Mikey. Paul, have you heard about the man shot of a crossbow at University of Surrey? Yeah, a Saudi national has been arrested. Why am I not surprised? I'm seeing this every damn day. I am sick of it, aren't we all? Let's bring in our next guest, Sharon. Sharon, good evening, honey.
Hello, Paul. You're right, my darling.
I'm not bad, Sharon. I'm not bad. I've been better, but how are you feeling? What's on your mind?
Well, the other day, after watching the cam footage, I sat and sobbed my heart out. I was going to make a video to put on my channel, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without crying.
Yeah, horrible, wasn't it?
But one thing that I will say, we have got in this country a bloody great big statue, a hideous statue made out of knives, the knife angel. Now, I think that that should be standing outside Westminster or outside Downing Street, because it gives a message. It gives a message. It's made out of loads and loads of knives that are used for stabbings, basically.
I haven't seen that, Sharon. Where's
You
that?
haven't seen it, The Knife Angel. Look it up. Look it up now.
Will.
Just
Yeah.
Google it. But yeah, we had it here in our town because a young boy got stabbed by another young boy at school over a girl, and he was stabbed in the heart. They were trying to give him heart compressions to bring him round.
Yeah.
But so the mother she paid to have the Knife Angel. It's a remembrance thing. And it's so tall and it's got so many knives on it, and they
Wow,
are
I'm
all
just
used.
looking at it now. Yeah.
That it was used, they've been used for murders and, you know, all sorts.
Shocking.
But I think that I find it hideous, but it sends out a message. And I think that that should be shoved right in front of Starmer's face, right in front of Labour's face. So when they come out of Westminster, that's in front of them. When they come out of Downing Street, that's in front of them. Because it's a horrible message, and something needs to be done, because what can we do? Who's going to be next? You know?
Well, that's the thing, Sharon. It could be anyone. And, you know, look, we all understand, Sharon, right, that people, unfortunately, people get murdered. Young men, young women, mostly young men, mostly young black men get stabbed. We come to terms with that. We know that bad things happen. But I don't think what we've ever experienced or ever expected to experience was to see a cold-hearted, callous,
That's awful.
nonchalant, arrogant, ignorant, stupid. I can't think of the words that would describe the police officers that were present at that event. And I just can't understand for the life of me what excuses they could come up with for their behaviour.
That's disgusting.
And anyone defending that behaviour, for whatever reason, needs to take a long, hard look at themselves, because, like I said, within the first 30 seconds of that policeman arriving at the scene, there were two things said that should have instantly raised a red flag, and he should have gone into critical life care mode. In other words, someone could be in trouble here. That is their first job as an emergency responder. If someone's life is in danger, let's get out. Let's get the professionals here to look at him.
Exactly.
You know.
But that picture that you posted of his hand, that the colour of his hand, oh my God, Paul.
Shocking.
That made me feel sick.
Shocking.
But
I mean, look, Sharon, look at this. I mean, look, this was at the after Arsenal won the Premier League.
Oh my God.
The other day. I mean, did you see this? I mean,
No, I didn't see that.
6 stabbed at Arsenal parade and 3 held over sex assaults as cops.
Oh my God. No, I didn't see that.
You know, but are they calling for Arsenal Football Club to be closed down? And you know, this is the thing. We've got a massive problem here.
It is a massive problem. It is a massive problem. I mean, years ago, if you heard of a stabbing, you were shocked.
Front page stuff, wasn't it? Not now.
Exactly. But now it's every single bloody day. Every single day. And I'm not being funny. I myself have experienced, about 6 years ago, me and my boyfriend went out for a meal, and we got overcharged in an Indian meal. We got Indian restaurant. We got overcharged, so we questioned it, and I lost my rag because it was obvious they were trying to rip us off. I lost my rag, and I threw a beer over the gentleman that was behind the counter, because he told me we ordered 4 Cobras, and he told me there was 2 pints in the bottle, and there wasn't.
Naughty. That's very naughty. We'll go on, carry on.
But anyway, right, we didn't run away or anything, but when we came out, there were the police round the corner waiting for us. They called racism. I spent a night in the cell. I am a law-abiding citizen, a hard-working taxpayer. I spent a night in the cell because of these people. But when my boyfriend, was put in the police van, the policeman smacked his head against the van and said, "Get in there, racist scum." we were guilty before, before even questioned.
Yeah.
The next day, they were full of apologies because the restaurant reckoned we'd run away without paying. And I remembered.
Sharon, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at some
No.
of the comments they're coming through. Someone just said that was a waste of a good beer.
Yeah, it was. But I remembered a £10 note with a stamp of a bird on it, and I said we did pay, and they found that in their till. So they realised that they were lying, and we were actually telling the truth. But they believe them first before us.
Yeah, I mean, Sharon, I've got to tell you, there's a story. I'll tell you a very quick story. I'm going to let you go, Sharon. I'm going to move on. I'm going to tell you a quick story
darling.
as well. Thank you so much, because I've still got guests waiting to come in. Thanks, Sharon. I really appreciate it. A number of years ago, a friend of mine was in Putney, and he was rear-ended at the traffic lights by an Asian male. No big deal. There was no dramas, no fuss. Wasn't a lot of damage. My mate reckoned a couple of £100. And the guy apologised. He rear-ended him at the traffic lights. My friend was sitting at a red light, and the car just cracked into the back of him. No, as I said, no drama. My friend's a lovely guy. Not racist in any way, shape, or form, or aggressive. Just a regular nice fellow, right? And he said to the guy, he said, "Do you want to go through the insurance? I reckon it's going to cost a couple of £100, or if you want to give me cash, that's fine." Guy said, "No, I wanted to go through the insurance." He said, "We'll do that. Let's exchange details, etc." You know what's coming, don't you? The next day, the police knocked on his door and arrested him for a racial slur. He'd alleged that he'd called him the P word. Which was a complete and utter lie. And they prosecuted my friend. He went to court and he was convicted. He had to pay a fine, and he had to pay the other driver compensation. So it was one man's word against another. No evidence, no proof, and he was found guilty. The race card has been being played for years, and I have, as a lifelong friend, I have first-hand experience of that, because I know my mate. I've known him since I was 17, and he would never, ever have used that sort of language, ever. Certainly not with an incident like that. It wouldn't have bothered him. He wasn't ever anyone that really cared too much about his cars in any case. It's not like he was driving a Ferrari. But there you go. So that's the power of the race card. Right, let's have a look. Who are we going to bring in next? Ray, good evening. Can you hear me?
Hello, Paul. Can you read me?
I can hear you well, Ray. Good evening to you, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hello, mate. I hope you and your family are all good.
Yes, thank you.
Good. I don't know what to say. You've had some amazing callers on this evening. It's obviously about Henry. I don't really know what else much is to say, really, because we've had so many atrocities over the last decade, and before that probably. But there's something about this one, and I think a lot of it is due to the police response to it.
Yep.
Now, I'll only say one thing in defence of the police that attended that, and that is that they were given the wrong information when they attended. So they're going into it with a certain mindset. So, but as they've gone to him, from what I could see and what I've heard, he was kind of surrounded by not only the murderer, but also the murderer's family.
Mm.
So they've been distracted by that. But as they've gone to him, he's obviously in a very, very serious condition.
He's in a bad way, yeah.
And how you can't spot that in the first 5 seconds that you take a look at that person,
yeah,
I can't comprehend.
No, neither can I.
I know this has all been said before, but I've just got to get it off my chest.
Yeah.
And then they prevaricate. They're talking to the other people around them, but clearly the person in serious danger there is Henry. he's there. He can't sit up. He can't barely speak, and they've not even examined him. They've just left him basically on the floor, start moving him around, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Now, I know from very basic first aid training I've had, as soon as someone says they've been stabbed, you've got to find out where they've been stabbed. Now, I don't think Henry was in a position to communicate that to them at that time. But even so, they should have basically got a pair of scissors or just stripped him off to find out exactly what's happened to him.
Mm.
Now, it was a difficult one, I think, because from what I've seen, I don't really want to go through these details, but it was a very slim-bladed weapon. Well, I'm not going to go any more into it, really.
No,
but
Ray, I think, Ray, can I just come in there, Ray? I think, look, I don't think anyone's blaming the police officers for not necessarily finding the wounds, right? Because we do know that wounds can be quite difficult to find.
yeah,
There's been cases in the past where people have been shot and the police have failed to find the gun wounds, right? Well, I think the problem that we all have with the police here, and I'll just go back a minute to what you said about, to be fair, the police, they were fed a story on the phone. I get that, Ray, but the problem is, look, criminals lying to police shock, right? I mean, look, at the end of the day, the police shouldn't really be turning up to an incident like that with any mindset. The only mindset they should be turning up with is an open mind. Because they should be fully aware that as police officers, they're not necessarily being told the truth.
no, 100%, yeah.
And I'm sure that they will have attended many of domestic incidents where the husband's being accused of being violent, when in fact maybe it might have been the other way round or vice versa. So look, they should be experienced enough and have been in the job long enough to know that they go into any incident with an open mind and a degree and a view of suspicion with everyone.
Paul, I agree with you there, mate, totally. Okay,
Yeah.
so, but they should have assessed the situation.
Exactly.
Why, the other people around should have been moved away.
Ray, you're right. Ray, at that point, as soon as they saw him falling over there, the first moment that copper arrives, everything else was secondary, straight into emergency healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Straight
I mean,
into it.
the first thing, as soon as someone says that, then the first thing to do is to basically call the ambulance service straight away.
Yeah,
Whether he's the criminal or the victim, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Ambulance service straight away.
And there's the thing and here's the thing, Ray, as well, right, is that the bottom line is, yes, we don't particularly expect police officers necessarily to be paramedically trained. That would be unfair. So call the paramedics in.
Yeah, straight away. That should have been the first call before they started chatting amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And then, as that went on, I mean, it was only 3 minutes, but, well, that's the only bit we've seen. But 3 minutes is a long time,
Oh, 3 minutes is a very long time. And considering the fact that he'd already been laying there for a long time, and that is only half the video as well, from what I can gather. And then the ambulance took nearly an hour to arrive. That's another story. I mean, who else was the ambulance, taken care of before it got to Henry? I mean, at what stage now, what condition have you now got to be in the UK to get a goddamn ambulance within 5 or 10 minutes?
Well, I mean, a call to the ambulance service from the police service will take priority from a call from the general public.
And it took an hour. So,
and I think, and that was the nature of the call that they put through.
Yeah.
That didn't prioritise it.
Unbelievable.
And I seriously think, God bless Henry, but there may have been something that could have been done to keep him going for that little bit more time.
I believe that. I believe that.
And it's horrible to discuss these things, but these things need to be discussed. And for me, this one, it's a big tipping point, really, because, that we've all over the last, like say, decade or so, the trust in the police service has gradually been eroded. It's
It's
gone
gone now.
further and further downhill.
Gone.
And this is like excuse my language, it's the final nail in the coffin for them. I don't know how they're going to come back with it. I don't know what they're going to do to come back from this. I
don't
really
think they-
don't.
Do you know what, Ray? I hate to say it, I don't think they can. I mean, when I look at the state, the sheer state, the physical state of our police officers up and down the country now, not all of them, of course, but a lot of them. There's this new woke brigade, the ones that are straight out of uni. The uniforms don't fit.
Yeah,
They got facial piercings. They've got, you know,
Yeah.
I've nothing against facial piercings. I've got nothing against tattoos. I'm smothered in them myself, right? But
they don't even conduct themselves properly, Paul.
no, they don't even hold themselves or conduct themselves
No.
properly. Their body language is wrong. Their mannerisms is wrong. Their self-entitled attitude is wrong.
Yeah.
I was watching AY earlier on when he'd had a cup of coffee thrown over him, and the policewoman just weren't interested. I mean, it's an assault.
Yeah, yeah.
If
Well,
someone
it could have been
throws a
anything, couldn't it? Could have
Yeah,
been anything.
exactly. If someone throws a hot cup of coffee over you, that is an assault. And when they
Yeah.
just stand there and go, like, couldn't
I mean,
give a
the
shit.
thing is, Paul, you know, I've over my life, I used to come across policemen now and then for whatever reasons, and you had respect for them because they'd been in the job for X amount of time.
Yeah.
They knew how to do their job properly. They wouldn't take any bollocks from anybody, and they enforced the law as it should be enforced. Okay, so if you're on the wrong side of that, that's down to you. You take the consequences. But the ones I see now, I don't. I mean, even I don't see how you can have any respect for them.
I tell you what,
Honestly, don't. I look at them. I mean, I'm all right. I'm 55, so I've seen it, you know, for over a few years. But I think it's the university educated
Yeah.
indoctrination. It all has a part to play in it, and also, you know, when they get to Hendon, I don't know if Hendon's even still going now, but the way they get trained now, and that's the way they turn out.
I've got to tell you, Henry. Sorry, I've got to tell you, Ray. Sorry, I've got Henry's in my mind right now.
Yeah, me and all. Yeah,
I've got to tell you, Ray. Right, I've got a problem with the what I call the beauty contest police officers at the moment. Right,
oh,
now,
don't even go there.
you know, look, everyone likes a pretty girl, right? Let's be honest. You know, it's never offensive to see a pretty woman, is it? Right, but you know, when I see some of these officers, the way they are presenting themselves these days, with, like I say, the facial aesthetics, whatever it's called, you know, when they've had lip filler and cheek filler, and you know, they're
Yeah.
looking more like a goldfish than a woman. You know,
Yeah.
I just don't think that's a suitable look for the police force. Certainly not the nails and the jewelry. You know, that's another thing. You know, the jewelry, they got the rings, the bracelets. It's just not.
I mean,
It's
that goes for all of them, Paul. Do you know what I
All
mean?
of them,
Not
yeah,
just
all of them.
not just the
Not
ladies.
just- no, not just the ladies.
Yeah, it goes for all of them. They just don't have the. I don't know if it was trained in them or. I mean, a lot of police officers were ex-military, so they had that already built into them.
Yeah.
But you know, these people now coming through the police service, and I know a couple of current serving officers as well, and I've had the same thing back for them. They spend half of their time looking after their the other officers' personal problems
Yeah.
than they do actually, you know, doing their job.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it's
I
become like the civil service.
Yeah, I was friends with a very senior police officer in South London, and the stories that he told me were just incredible. I mean, literally incredible. I mean, I think, you know, I wouldn't even begin to go into them because I have no proof that these stories were true. I have no reason to disbelieve him. But I'll say this, excuse my language, what a fucking mess. If half of what he told me was true, what a mess.
Well, you know, the guys I know won't go into any detail either for obvious reasons, but they'll only tell me a certain part of it because, you know, you can't go into graphic details and whatever. But I just don't. To me, poor Henry Novak. This is like I mean, we've had so many terrible things that have happened. You know, Southport, Manchester, London Bridge. You can go on and on and on. But there's something about this, and to me, it's all about the police force.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double whammy, isn't it? We've lost a beautiful young life, and we've seen. I think the best way. It's a great point you make there, Ray. I mean, after Southport, I mean, I was just in bits for days over that.
Yeah,
and this has kind of got me in the same way. But this, I don't know what it is. How can I explain it? But what we've seen the young man die in front of our eyes.
yeah.
But not only have we seen a young man die in front of our eyes, we've seen the betrayal of a nation unfold right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And when you put those two things together, the death of a beautiful, innocent young man and the betrayal of a nation went like that and joined together at the same time.
Yeah.
It don't get much more powerful. Ray, I'm going to move on, mate. Thank you
Right,
so much.
Paul, sorry to waffle on.
Great call.
Right,
Thank you
thanks
very
very
much, Ray.
much.
All the best to you, mate. We got Alan and then Robert, and that will be it on the calls. We've still got some bits to get through. Alan, good evening, mate.
Good evening, Paul. Can you hear me, mate?
I'm sorry for the wait, Alan, and I'm sorry for the wait, Robert, who is up next. What's on your mind, Alan?
No problem at all, Paul. Listen, you're a great guy. I've seen you many times at UTK when I've done the security for Tommy and everything as well.
Thank you, mate.
As I say, the country has gone into absolute chaos, Paul. You look at the judiciary, you look at the crimes and the attacks and the events that are unfolding before our eyes up and down the country, the people that we're losing that are being stabbed to death. Look at Henry Novak, just lost his life, sitting there, struggling to breathe, begging for help. Look, look at the lady that just lost her life, Rhiannon White. Look at her, stabbed to death at a train station. Again, look at the 3 children at Southport. No one is safe, Paul. Our women, our children, our little boys, our little girls, us men, no one is safe to walk these streets no more. And how much is this going to go on? I mean, you look at the Metropolitan Police, things like that, police forces up and down the country that have been found to have, officers that have committed sexual offences against people, that have also taken people and committed murders. These are hierarchy officers that are being, that kicked out of the police force, that are being arrested and being put in prison. Like, I mean, look at all these people that are committing these attacks against Henry, against Rhiannon, against his children. That you look at it from this point of view, Paul, where they've been on the terror watch list. Okay, so if they were being watched and they were known before, how was they allowed to carry on and commit further attacks and take more lives of not just people's children, people's aunties, uncles, nans, granddads, people that served in the war. We had here in Blackpool, we had a protest on the weekend. And the police, the 2 tearing there, they broke people's bones and called us far-right agitators, called us far-right racists, stamping on people's heads, kicking people in the face, breaking ribs, breaking eye sockets, things like that, because that's what they waited for and that's what they wanted, even though it was happening peacefully. And all we said to the officers was, take a knee for Henry. And from there on, the police got hands-on because they refused to take the knee for Henry. And that's where it all started. This is the judiciary. This is a 2-tier police government. And Keir Starmer come out. I don't know if you see the video. There was a news reporter outside Downing Street. And as Keir Starmer come out, he said, Prime Minister, he said, have you got anything to say to Henry Novak's family? Do you feel sorry for Henry Novak? Are you sorry for what's happened? The smug smirk and the smile that he threw at these news reporters was absolutely tyranny and just absolute disgusting. It was vile. It was like it said to the UK, I've got what I want. I've drove the country into chaos, and this is not going to stop. My sidings are with the people. Look at the Magna Carta that says people should be served without nor fear or favour. These people, our government that we've got, are not serving us as the people. They're serving the people that are committing these atrocities and the attacks. We are not safe. And, we need to stop Andy Burnham getting in. And the only way forward is restore now. And if we get restore in and we build this country, build on the great nation, which is Great Britain, stand side by side, no matter what race, religion, colour or background, just stand as one and fight against. Otherwise, we're going to lose. And that's the end of Great Britain.
I think we are on our last legs, Alan. I think that's where we are.
With the Henry Novak situation, on behalf of doormen, you know, Henry Novak situation, I'm a doorman myself, Paul, and people should be doing more, even in security, to make sure these people are safe when they leave the venues, making sure that any eruptions that are happening or anything you're catching a glimpse of, we should be doing more. And people like that also should be served through the SIA to make sure they're up to standards for the Security Industry Authority to maintain their position. And even with the police, again, they should be conducted for the police authority. And it's not happening.
I think they fast track some of these wrong ones through the SIA system.
They do.
What's your view on that?
I think at the moment, Paul, as I've said, you know, I got my badge now. I struggle. Obviously, all right, I've been in security 7 years now. I lost one of my badges through no fault of my own. You know, getting into a bit of a fight, did the wrong thing. Cool, fine. I took it on the head. You know, paid my dues. You know, took the fine. You know, did a bit of community service. Fine, and I worked my way back up and got my badge back. But I'm finding a lot of these people. I went to a festival last year, Paul, which was the end of October. Now we was at the Isle of Wight festival. They had 4 gentlemen that was pulled in front of the supervisor, and he went, "What is the hot protocol?" Now this is talking about suspicious packages. One of the guys came around and said, "Oh, pick it up and move it." They didn't have a clue what suspicious packages was. They didn't have a clue what, you know, suspicious items were. They didn't have a clue what to do in a suspicious attack or suspicious circumstances.
Yeah.
These people are being fast tracked just because we're a number. They don't care about the society and security. We are a number, just to throw badges out, to secure places, to secure venues, and they're not secure because these people have no clue. They don't have the training that they need. They don't have the training that is expected as a doorman, as security across many venues, buildings, corporal buildings, corporal company, you know, doors, venues, whatever it be.
So Alan, we've got 2-tier SIA licenses as well then?
I believe so, yeah. And this is the problem, you know, and again, when I've opened my mouth a few times, Paul, when I've been on venues. Now, when we've been letting like these migrants in that have got these like resident cards and things like that, even people that work on the doors, because I've made a complaint to the manager that these doormen aren't up to aspect, and it's a safety protocol that's breaching health and safety, breaching the safety of venue customers coming in and staff and the venue itself and the whole wider community. I've been chucked off of venues and been called a racist and lost even one of my jobs over doing so, for saying the right thing and standing up for the right thing.
Yeah. Alan, thank you so much for your call, mate.
Paul,
I really
God bless you,
appreciate
mate.
it.
Take care.
And you take care. Look after yourself,
Take care,
mate.
Paul.
That's Alan. Thank you. We got Robert up next. Robert, good evening.
Good evening, Paul. It's been a very interesting program tonight, and
thank you.
Most of the I'm coming on last, I believe, and most of it's all been said. I've been hearing people saying, "Well, I was going," and I'm in the background going, "Well, I was basically going to make that same point a lot of the time."
It's called stolen thunder, mate. That's what.
Yeah. But it's great to hear that people are thinking the same way, and that perhaps one of the things to say is, I was very impressed with Danny Tomo at the rally in Southampton, because I could see from TV, and perhaps most of the older people could see, that the police had deliberately put that line there, wanting the pictures of the riots for the newspapers, and the next morning on Radio 4, the first thing I heard on the Today programme, a riots in Southampton, police are injured.
Yeah.
Nothing about the speeches, nothing about how many people. They even said 300. This is what they said, something like this. I haven't got it exactly. 300 people were at a riot with the police, as if there were only 300 people there, and that they were just troublemakers throwing stuff at the police.
Yeah.
A little bit later, this was the headline. A little bit later, they did give a little bit more detail, but a lot of people get the news in a hurry, going out to work. I'm retired now, so I don't, but going out to work. So that headline is there, and people just hear, "Oh, there was a riot in Southampton and things were thrown at the police."
Yeah. Tommy Robinson was there, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And by the way, his real name is Stephen Yankee Lennon.
Yeah, like that news. Yeah.
That was them. So they.
Oh, mate, listen. You know, look, we've all got a job to do, Robert, and that is to try and draw our families and friends away from the BBC, away from the mainstream media, and on to channels like this. On that note, guys, anyone watching, please make sure that you like and subscribe. And before we go, give me a quick thumbs up. If you could do that now for me, would really appreciate that, everyone. Yeah, I mean, look, it's been another really mind-boggling, difficult week, Robert. You know, this one has really, really affected the nation. I think this one has I just hope and pray that the Novak family don't allow Starmer to get into their heads. What the Novak family said about not wanting it to cause further division, I'm sure we all go along with that. We all go along with the Novak family's wishes, and we understand and respect those wishes, and we agree with those wishes. We don't want to see it causing further division. We don't want to see it causing conflict. But I'll tell you what else we don't want. We don't want this being swept under the goddamn carpet.
Exactly. I'm old enough to remember when we were growing up that this was a wonderful country to live in, and people would come here. The singer, actually, Mama Cass Elliott, got in trouble with the police for drugs or something, and at the time she said, "Well, I've come to Britain, and although I'm in trouble with the police, she was on about the British police are wonderful." Yeah. Nobody would say that today. Nobody would say that today.
No, absolutely.
Just before we pack up, I say, well, being a little bit older, I am not very happy to see police with, earrings and nose piercings, and particularly to see police women with extension nails on.
Yeah.
They're there to do a job.
Yeah.
And as that Paz 49 says, one time he would have loved to have been a policeman, but they didn't want him to be a policeman because he'd been in the army. It's the sort of person they should have as policemen. They no longer have.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, Robert, I bet if that was a former serviceman that turned up to that stabbing, that brutal stabbing, I bet he'd have known something was wrong a long time before that copper sussed it out.
They should have known by first aid. They should all have first aid. I've had first aid training, and I should think that every police officer has had first aid training. They should have done that. And I'm not happy at all with this mate.
No.
Police, there was a time when they'd come up, and even if they thought you'd done something wrong, that would be sir.
Sir, yeah.
Talking to people properly come up. I don't think you have mates. Yeah. They all should be thrown out of the police. In fact, they should all be in jail, in my opinion, for accessory to murder.
100%.
And as the Sikh guy said earlier, the Sikh family should be thrown out of Britain. The Sikh family, this one family, they should be thrown out of the country altogether because the father and the brother were involved. The brother lied to the police when he phoned up, and the police were stupid enough to believe the lie.
Yeah, exactly. I can't understand it, but there you go. Robert, thank you so much for popping on, mate. I really appreciate it. All the best, and I will see you again next time. That's Robert. We haven't finished just yet, guys, before you go dipping out. Still got something I want to get through. Charlie, thank you very much, mate. Fletcher Liam, Zia is a powerhouse. He deserves credit. Thanks. He does this week, definitely. Good boy, Paul, do you remember 1-4 for a copy? I do. I'm old enough to remember all that CB radio lark. Patriotic Christian UK, hope you are well, Paul. Big love, Roan, Sasha, and the kids. Go over to Patriotic Christian UK, subscribe. Good lad, good friend of the channel. Thank you so much for that. Loads and loads of chats in the regular chats tonight. Far too many to get through. I really did want to speak tonight about Makerfield, restore and reform. Maybe we'll leave that for perhaps, I don't know, tomorrow night. Obviously, everyone's focused on Henry. We've been on for nearly 2.5 hours. Great show tonight. Some great guests. That's what it's all about. Get it off your chest here. Get it off your chest in the right way. Wherever you're up to over the next few days, if you go to any of these events, please keep yourselves out of trouble. Do not rise to the bait. Do not give these people what they want. Do not give Starmer, to use that saying, full force of the law. We win this through the ballot box, and it can be done. But that is another very important discussion that we have. By the way, thanks for that, Rona. Appreciate that, mate. We have got to come to terms with how that is done. And I'll finish tonight with this. Look, I believe that Ben has done the right thing. I really do. And I admire him for that. I will show my support, for my personal support for Rupert, for what that's worth. Not a lot, but I will do that. But this Makerfield by-election and potentially the next general election, which I believe is going to come around sooner than we think. Now, what we have to do when that election comes around, let's forget the by-election for a moment. Let's look ahead towards the next general election. Let's say it's a year. Let's say it's in a year's time, just for argument's sake. No, the officers have not been suspended. The police themselves earlier confirmed that. Britain is suffering a death by 1,000 cuts, I would agree. The only way forward is to unite the right and do what's right. Country forward for our country, with our country, absolutely. So what I was saying there is, look, let's say the general election is in a year's time. My question for the Restore supporters out there, and I see so many of you in the chat, aim high, vote low, millions must go, you know, all great sayings, you know, all good sound bites. Sorry, guys, it means nothing. What does mean something is voting, being registered to vote, being able to vote, getting your family, your friends to vote. Now, the problem is that Rupert's going to need minimum 2 years, minimum. And we've got a decision to make before too long. And I was going to say it's a tough decision, but you know what? It's not even really a tough decision. It's the only decision. And I think if you're all honest with yourselves, you know it as well as I know it. It just depends on who's brave enough to say it, because, you know, I do believe there are a lot of YouTubers out there right now that feel the same way as I do, that see the bigger picture. We know what's got to be done, but I think some of them are frightened of telling it for what it is. But I'm not going to shy away from telling it as it is. You know, I support Rupert Lowe and I support pretty much everything he says, but I don't believe he can win Makerfield. And I think it's a mistake standing at Makerfield. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my hat and I'll do my next live stream naked, right? But I don't think he can win Makerfield. In fact, I know he can't. So why is he standing? We've got to keep Andy Burnham out. We have to. It is vital. It is pivotal. And the next live stream that we do, I want to hear from hardcore Restore supporters. I want them to tell me why I'm wrong. Because maybe I am wrong. I'm not the cleverest bloke in the world. Maybe I'm wrong. But if I'm wrong, tell me how I'm wrong and tell me how Restore can win Makerfield, because in my heart and in my head, I just don't think that's possible. So we know what needs to be done. But that is obviously now for another night, because we've been up for 2.5 hours. Right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a lovely Friday. It is the end of the week. Hopefully for many of you, that will mean a break with your family. God bless you all, and we will see you soon. Take care, everyone.